I have no other option other than to succeed. And so when you put that inside your mind, opportunities that will support plan A become apparent to you. TCS was an opportunity that will support plan A. And it's just, I want it that bad.
What's up, folks? Welcome back once again for another edition of Trade Talks. I, however, am not Trey Tipton, nor is my co-host over here. What's your name, brother?
What's up, man? Vinnie. I'm filling in. We're just all filling in for some people today. So Swing is usually the producer desk. He's on a call right now. I figured I'd step in and say what up. We have a great guest today, someone that you know really well, and I'm excited to be here. So
yeah, I've known. My name's Kevin Gray, by the way. So we're sitting here for another edition, an episode of Trade Talks, and I think that kind of goes to the mantra of this whole place, this whole metaverse, this whole one team TPG TCS world that we all operate in, man. And we do whatever it takes to get it done. So
yeah, I mean,
thank you for filling in.
Yeah,
and Trey can thank me later for filling in.
Yeah,
and we'll just rock out, man.
For sure. Some of the best teams I ever been on, people were willing to, step up and play positions that weren't there. So here we go. Let's see how this thing goes.
Man. We got my man Kyle Ascione here. Integrity. Is it still Earth and Asphalt? Or you tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you just rebranded your company too a little bit. So, man, tell us who you are, where you are, what you do.
Yes, sir.
And
Kyle Ascione with Integrity Asphalt. We did drop the Earth. It was a good idea, Integrity, Earth, and Asphalt. We do all these things, but then when people started getting a tongue twister over it and wondering who we exactly were, we'll just get rid of that part. Make it easier to remember. We are in Northern Michigan, beautiful Traverse City area. It's commonly referred to as a vacation destination. We just crossed over 5 years. I'm actually looking at the paper right now. June 16th, 2018 is when we started. And, I started it. Some people that know my story, I started 120 grand in debt, $3,000 in my bank account. Went and took a loan out on a truck and quit my job in that order because I needed proof of income to get the truck, to quit the job, to start the business. And so it has been we got into paving 2020, right at the beginning of COVID, when we first laid our first pad with all our own equipment. Very
welcome to being an entrepreneur.
And it's been an uphill growth ever since. So I just looked at the numbers yesterday. We surpassed last year's numbers as of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we'll see probably about a 50% growth this year.
Wow.
Oof. Dude, it never gets old hearing people's stories, where they started, where they came from. Nobody in this group is silver spoon, came from money, had things handed to them. Here's the key to the Lamborghini,
right.
Done, good luck. It's everybody did it from the bottom, man. And it's God, the stories never get old, dude.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that. Tell me what, starting from the bottom, did you have any people in your life that have done something similar to that? Or was this totally outside the norm for your family and friend group? Or, what were some of the things going through your head at that time?
Yeah. So paving specifically, no. And honestly, a lot of the feedback that I got from peers in my family, just a quick recap, my dad's side of my family is all very successful entrepreneurs. The one that I refer to most is a couple uncles of mine started a trash business, and within one generation they just sold it a couple of years ago for $400 million was the sale price. My dad's brother is very successful in grocery stores, and it's so for me personally, growing up, my dad had restaurants. He's in the food service industry, wanted to spend more time with his family, so got out of that when I was about 7. I don't know that the, spending more intentional time with the family was really there. It was to a certain extent, but his mind was, other places, but was not good with money. Just, that's the truth. And so he died 8 years ago, 30 grand in debt. So there's a lot of perception of, hey, Kyle comes from a very successful family. People handed things to him. He had to get help somehow. And the reality of it is that's just not truth. But what I did get, which has been the most valuable thing to me, is I have a vision of what's possible if I work hard enough. You know what I mean? So it's like nothing was handed to me. Nobody came up to me and said, hey, we're going to help you get this started. That actually was something that was put on the table. I, went to my uncles and said, hey, I think I want to start an asphalt company. What do you think? And their response was, well, if that's what you want to do, we were thinking about doing it because we have all of this asphalt that we already own that we need to service. So if you want to do that, we could have one going in 2 weeks. You just need to let us know. And I was like, well, that wasn't the goal of this conversation. But now that that's on the table, I had to think about it for a little while and thought, well, it's pretty much a guarantee. I've got people behind me that would back me and help me do this thing successfully and not let me fail. So when I actually accepted that offer, they responded with, we thought about it for a little bit and we don't think it's a good idea. We feel like it would be too complicated. And so we have to back out. And so what I thought was there to me actually wasn't. And so then it was a matter of, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. And I just kept going. So there wasn't really, what really pushed me in that direction, to be honest with you, is I knew that at some point in my life, I would work for myself. I just didn't know when. And, the old school, probably find them a couple places around the country, but like it was a funnel that you put a quarter in at the top and it swirls around and around. Eventually it drops in.
Dude,
Well, that's how I saw myself, just kind of like revolving around what's eventually going to happen. And eventually I'll drop in that place. But when is that going to happen? Right. And I made a promise to myself. I said, the next person I work for will be the last person I work for. And mind you, I had already gone through trade school. I was working for, I was an exotics technician at the time. I was working for Lamborghini. I was scheduled to go to Italy for factory Lamborghini training in 2 months. And then my dad had passed away and I decided to make the change. I'm going to abandon that career path. Literally had everything I wanted and worked for up to that time presented directly in front of me. And I said no. But what I realized is I didn't want the thing. I was still successful in getting there because what I had was the option to choose. It wasn't withheld from me off the table. I was at a crossroads. I could say yes or I could say no, right? The option to choose for me meant that I was successful in that area, but the better choice for my life and everything involved was to abandon that and go down a different path. So I told myself, all right, this has to come to an end. The quarter has to drop down at some point in time. If I keep towing around, tiptoeing around this, it's never going to happen. So the next person I work for is going to be the last person I work for. It's either going to work out or it's not. And it ended up, I decided to leave. And another set of crossroads is, all right, am I going to hold true to myself or am I just going to, not do that and then be in limbo for the rest of my life and not even be able to trust my own words that come out of my mouth? That combined with, I don't want to get 20 years down the road and say, I wish I would have. I want to get 20 years down the road and say, I'm glad I did, so sink or swim. Now is the time. So then you just have to remove whatever sort of reservations and reasons of, why you can't. Our core values are sitting behind me there and they're all scratched up because we're in the middle of reevaluating them and updating them. But one of them is can't doesn't exist, because you're not really saying I can't. What you're saying is I won't. And can't is just a negative something that I feel like sticks in our mind that limits you to, from just seeing what you're capable of, and that's something that I drill into everybody in my company is, all right, can I go to my house and lift up the side of it? No. Yes, I can't, but my mind operates with I won't, because there's limiting factors that prevents me from doing it. So every decision I make, it's either can't or won't. Well, why? So all those things kind of combined led me to start, and it was just like, well, I'm going to go for it and see what happens. Whatever shows up along the way, I guess I'll figure it out then. But the right now problem is I just need to start.
Dude, that's that's powerful stuff. And I think what you just said is at the core of every true real entrepreneur that's kind of ever done it. Is that, and Brian and I were talking about it this morning, actually, is like, you take can't, and you take the fears, or you take the worry, or the what ifs, or the, and you just take all those things off the table. Like, because you believe so much, you get to a point where you pull the ripcord and you say, I believe in myself so much that no matter what comes my way, there is a way. If there is a will, there is a way. And it's like, people, and it's been evident these last few weeks. I mean, there's been a little, I won't, it's not negativity, but just a little, I won't even call it criticism, but people have reminded Brian and myself, is like, you guys just like, you just do things, and you kind of, you just figure it out as you go. Like, if you've got that true visionary entrepreneurial spirit about you, I think that just kind of comes with the territory. It's not that we don't have a plan or a vision or a method. And sometimes the fault of the leader is that we keep these plans and visions and processes, procedures, like just in our own head. We're guilty of not sharing those with our teams. We're like, what the hell is this guy doing? It's like, we got to figure it out down the road, but it's like,
and then they're like, why don't you get it too?
A little bit.
I think what you
but
have
it's
is
like,
communicate.
yeah, right. It's not a negative connotation. It's like, you guys are fearless. You're, a lot of time it's you're called insane or crazy. I'm reading Elon Musk's autobiography right now, and it's like, you talk about a guy that threw the word can't in a trash can, and like, everything he's done should have probably been a can't. At least it was for the bulk of society, or people even in his industry, saying that can't be done. There's no way that rocket can do that, or that car can do that, or that PayPal financial app is going to be able to, like, whatever. It's like, he took that off the table at a young age for him. And a lot of us, we don't realize that till later in our lives. But I think that's a root derivative of what kind of breeds people like you, Kyle. Like, what do you think about that, Vinnie? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. As far as, I feel like you either have it or you don't. You either have that like gut check moment,
right, whether
it's in business or life. And sometimes like life hits you with the gut check moment, right? Like, I know you mentioned your dad passed away, and I know that, like, from personal experience, like losing my dad, that was one of the first times where I had to like really kind of figure out, like, all right, what am I about? Like, what are the things that I invest my time and energy into? Like, what are they going to produce? Like, if I'm just here to make a paycheck to, swallow all the things that are just like, suppress all the things that are just bad for me, that are just negative in my day-to-day life. Like, a lot of people do that, and they don't ever have, they're afraid to like have the gut check moment because life hasn't forced them to yet. So it's like, the truth is, life's gonna eventually force you to have that gut check moment. And it's like, if you haven't done the work, or like, the behind the scenes work, you're gonna get exposed. So like, can you speak to maybe just that, like the gut check moment of, like, for you, like, what is it like when did, when you had those doubts, when you had those things, what was it that pushed you through that?
Me personally, how I see you,
sorry, I'm looking at you on the Zoom up here.
I feel like you're looking at Kevin. So those gut check moments, I think, you know, leading up to those, and I was actually just having this conversation with one of my guys the other day, you know, it's ironic that some of the most valuable conversations are in a 5-minute truck ride. You know, and he said, because he's working on buying a house right now, and I kind of like, I had to correct him on some of where his attention's at. And he said, you know, life has hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting. Valid. You know, I don't doubt that that happened. And I said, Alex, what you're going to find out is that never goes away, right? Life is always going to hit you in a way that you weren't expecting because you didn't plan for it. So like, it's just kind of a given. Well, of course it's difficult because you didn't plan for this to happen. I said, that doesn't go away. But what happens is you get better at dealing with them, right? You end up planning for the unexpected, you know, and I'm not somebody, as you, just my personal being, I don't like to make plans any more than 24 hours ahead of time. That's just how I operate as a person. You know, but I think before you enter into that though, you have to almost predetermine how you're going to respond in those times, right? And one of the biggest things to remember is you can't give yourself a plan B. You can't give yourself a bailout. Like where we go and where we're moving, the momentum keeps going forward. You know, it might go sideways a little bit, it might zigzag, but it keeps moving in a forward progression. And so, you know, there's times to where, and they're running through my mind right now to where I know where I was at the physical moment of like, everything is failing around me. My backup from my backup from my backup, every single resource has failed. But there was never a thought of where's the exit. It's where's the exit backwards. It's where's the opportunity forwards. What do I have to do? How long do I have to wait? You know, if it's a matter of sleep sometimes, because you just, you know, we're talking theoretical things about physical action. You know, these are all applied into where you now have to give physical action. So when you're in the moment, it's like there is no give up. There is no option to back out. It's how do I put the fires out? How do I soften the blow? How do I continue this forward? You know, and it's the gut check is more so how am I going to respond in those moments? And if you already know that you're going to respond in those moments, still having momentum forward, then it's just a matter of waiting until they show up.
Dude, I love that. Excuse me. And I I never really understood the power of taking taking plan B off the table until about 6 months ago, when and, you know, something in my personal life that I've been dealing with for 20, 30 years. Yeah, thanks, bro. And I was watching a speech that Arnold Schwarzenegger gave. And it's, I don't know, 20-minute speech. I think he was at some graduation or something. And a lot of it was like removing plan B from your repertoire, because we as humans, no matter if if it's personal, if it's professional, relationships, parenting, like you name it, like if there's a plan B already in your head, we're eventually going to default to that because life's going to come at us, or we're going to have a string of bad, like just make it as simple as like you, Kyle. I mean, Kyle, you, and I've watched you over social the last several months. I mean, you really, have dove into, your personal fitness and well-being and, educate, like you're reading and working out and all like this stuff, like trying to work on your self-development. And it's like, if you have a plan B for not going to the gym, like there's like, and it doesn't take many of those days to where you're out of your routine. It's like, if plan B is an option, like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, you're screwed. And it all stems down to how disciplined you are. Like, I've been working on, this recovery, for the last 6 months now almost. And like every other time I tried in my life, to work on this. I always had a plan B, or always had a next time, or I always had something I knew I could fall back on. And like this time it's off the table and it's a whole different experience for me. So there's so much power in that.
Plan B gives you a limit, because your vision and plan B don't coincide with each other. You know what I mean? Because our vision is like way far out there. It's going to take a long time to build it. And as we get closer to that one target and that vision, we find the next one. But having a plan B gives you a limit. I'm only willing to work towards this, my goal, up to this point. If it gets there, I know that I'm safe because I always have a plan B. And so at how close, and it's, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. You're only willing to go so
safety
far.
net out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. I have another question here. This is a little bit, we're going to like switch gears just slightly.
Yeah.
And I got to, Trey is always, he's a big cartoon guy, right? So we always ask every guest, like if you could be a cartoon character, or what is your favorite cartoon character?
It's got to be the one that pops into my mind instantly, which is Yosemite Sam.
Okay.
And I think because I got the most entertainment out of him, he was rambunctious, he was aggressive, he was loud, he was busy, he's, moving at a fast pace all the time. He's shooting guns off. He's, telling other people what to do, and just kind of, and especially packed into such a small person. It's like if you had, and then you think of, a cross between Tasmanian Devil, like, if those two were to get into a fight, I truly feel like Yosemite Sam would come out on top. But I just,
dude was a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. It's just an animal. And he was the most entertaining for me. But I think it was that, like, man, this guy is aggressive and I kind of like it.
That's a good one, man.
Forgive me if I don't know the answer to this, but did Trey ever ask you who your favorite cartoon character was?
He did.
Who was it?
And I went with He-Man, because that was that's the one I remember as far back in my childhood, like that I watched all the time. So how old are you, Kyle?
34. I'll be 34 in a month.
34. So I'm 42. So I mean, like, you get some of these guys now, they're just in their early 30s or even late 20s that are coming in the group. They're like, what are cartoons? Like, what are you talking about? Saturday morning cartoons? Like,
a cartoon is a fictional character that you best relate to in your own personal life. That's what a cartoon is.
Right. How about you, Vinny? What?
So I think I'd have to go with Tommy Pickles. Do you know the Rugrats?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the main baby in the Rugrats. Okay. The reason I say this is because when I was growing up, Rugrats was huge. I'm a 90s, but I'm 32, so I'm like just a few years behind you. I think that was like right when the Rugrats became like big. That's on
about right.
Nickelodeon and that era, like 90s Nick, all that.
Nick Jr., Nicktoons,
all that.
Yeah.
And Tommy was always the like leader of his little baby friend group.
Yeah.
Like he had friends that were always afraid to do, like Chucky was always afraid. Phil and Lil were always too crazy. Angelica was a bully, and Tommy would always stick up for the other babies for, when Angelica was bullying. Like Tommy was the connector of the group. And I always identified myself as Tommy, or, in Rocket Power. I don't know if you remember that one. There was this kid named Otto Rocket, and he was like the leader of the friend group. He was like I don't know why, like, I don't know if it's an entrepreneurial spirit that like I've had since being a kid, but I've met other business owners that are like, I identify with Tommy too. Like that's I would have to
That's
say
cool.
We also share a birthday. The first episode of the Rugrats came out on my first birthday. And in the first episode, it's Tommy's first birthday. So I'm like, dude, we're like the same person.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be. And it's, just knowing you for a few months now, Vinny, like, I mean, I can see like you're a glue guy. Like you're one within the organization, within the team, probably within your family that kind of, holds everybody together to some extent. Like, and those people are invaluable. I mean, because And they're usually, not usually, they are some of the most important, on a team. It's just someone that's always steady, someone that you can always rely on, somebody that you can go to for advice, someone that you can go to when you're having a bad day. Just, typically kind of empathetic. I'm kind of the same way. And just kind of, people that hold the ship together, man.
Yeah.
Are a staple. So, I mean, I see that for sure, man.
Thanks.
For sure. You're welcome.
Yeah, sorry, I probably like kind of derailed our conversation with that, but I had to get it in for my guy Trey.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Yeah, so I want to turn it back over to you, Kev. Is there anything, like, before we wrap this thing up, anything you wanted to ask him? I know that we've been talking mostly about, what it's like to start a business. Are there any, like, actual things that, maybe we want to ask you just about, like, where do you see this going in 10 years? Where do you see, like, what's the future look like for you? Maybe I just asked the question for you, Kev.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
The future for me is honestly not the paving business specifically. My goal for it, and I think me and Kevin have talked about this just recently, is I don't want $100 million paving business. I don't want a good large business. I want a great appropriate sized business that will feed other elements in my life, because what I'm really trying to create is an environment, right? And how I see this happening is I'm building a room, right? And people are going to come into the room and they're going to want to stay in the room because they like what's inside that room and the other people involved. That room's going to provide, income for families, opportunities for the people inside of it. And it might not be, the paving business is going to be a part of that room, a chair in the room, and so I don't even want the room to be represented as me. I just want to build it. I don't need the glory. I don't need the recognition. And I think I've got it on my Facebook page or my Instagram. It's like, I don't need to be great. I just want to do great things. And I feel that is kind of my mantra as I go, is that I just want to create opportunity for others, is what it is. So what I would like the paving business to get into is that, $5 million range that turns very good profits, that we can offer a premium product and a quality service to the people that we want to serve, and offer a fantastic opportunity and pay for the people that are eligible to be kept inside. That paving business is going to be the goose that lays the golden egg, and that golden egg, when it gets spit out, we take that golden egg and then we put it into another business, or we put it into a development, that those developments give the people that were here from the beginning an opportunity to invest in this next thing, whether it be equity, sweat equity, money, whatever. And it's like, all right, we benefit not because we hustle hard on a paving crew, we benefit from being in this room. And that might come from many different sources. So really, I'm creating a room that will have, a consulting agency, a paving business, a construction business, real estate developments. I'd like, 2 to 3 service-based businesses. That's what I'm creating. And so that's where we're going. And it's honestly, I know it's not going to happen overnight, and everything in my mind might not happen, right? Because I'm just taking it one step at a time. Like, I started saying last year, when you're a high performing person, and I stopped using the term entrepreneur because it generally comes around with, you have to own a business in order to be an entrepreneur. Well, that removes the people that are high performing in somebody else's business from being included in that. No, a high performing person puts themselves in the position to execute at their highest potential every single day, and then figures out ways to elevate that. So as this grows, and as you're a high performing person, you start to experience lots of these, struggles, is what it is. It's hurdles you have to problem solve. You get consumed with so many that at one point in time, I just said, all right, none of the other ones are an issue right now. The most important one is the right now problem. And I started saying that to my crew when they would bring all the problems to me. I said, you know what? That's a 5-minute problem. It's a problem 5 minutes for now. We need to focus on the right now problem. That next one will come when time's appropriate. So we're just working one step at a time, one day at a time, making the next best decision that we can. Where that takes us, how far, how fast, and how much, I have no idea. But for right now, I'm just focusing on the right now problem.
That's
I hope that's a good
some
answer.
wise words. What's that?
I hope that's a good answer to your question.
No, those,
Great,
those
bro.
are some wise words from a 34-year-old dude that when did you come see me? When did you and Brandon come visit? 3 years ago?
Two or 3 years ago. Yeah, because I don't
two and a half.
Yeah, because I came first, and then I sent Brandon and some other people out of my crew.
Yeah. You sent, what'd you send? 3 guys down?
Yeah, 3. And it was it was funny because it's, hey, you guys want to go pave? They're like, sure, okay, you're gonna go down to Kentucky and you're gonna meet this guy and go pave with that you've never met before. And then as soon as they came back in a snowstorm, and you got a hold of me. I said, hey, do you want to go do it again? Pack your stuff. And they literally left, like, I think 24 hours later.
That's right.
Yep.
Jeez. We've only got about 3 minutes here left, but man, like, just to see your personal growth, your company's growth, just in this short amount of time, man, is, to me, nothing short of remarkable. It's like,
It's incredible.
because let's just be like, you guys didn't know shit. Like,
No.
I mean, literally, like, and there was a point in my career I didn't know. Like, I was like, like Brian says, how do you turn the paver box on? Like, so like, what has been, and just a reminder, we just got a couple minutes here, but like, what was what happened for you? Like, what was it that is it? And I'm not trying to plug the TCS community or anything, but like, what is it that has gotten you on this trajectory and accelerated your growth so quickly?
Honestly, I mean, since we don't have much time, because I feel like that's a good topic for a whole nother, we could talk about that for a long time. And honestly, I think it was a matter of removing the plan B, because and going back to that, because I have no other option other than to succeed. And so when you put that inside your mind, your subconscious pushes you, opportunities that will support plan A become apparent to you. So TCS was an opportunity that will support plan A. I don't know what, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm at a point to where I'm at my skill set and my knowledge. I've come this far. I need something else that will put me in line, that will put me there. And I'm at that point now again, and so that then you get around a community of people that teaches you things about personal development. They open your mind to concepts that you never thought of before, that you didn't know were accessible to you. And it's just, I want it that bad, so it's making the next right decision is honestly what it is.
Yeah. Any closing remarks, Vinnie? Anything you want to end with? Or
no, I think honestly, like you said, like there's a lot to be said here. So I think we'll have another day that we could set aside, maybe another time you're in town. Yeah. We'll have you back on and maybe continue the conversation.
Part 2.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, man. I'm I know I keep looking up here at the screen. I maybe look right down the barrel of the camera for you one time, but I look forward to. Are you planning on being at the next retreat, or like?
Yeah,
like I literally.
You coming to the meetup?
Yeah, I don't think I can afford to miss it, to be honest with you. I'll be when's the date?
November 9th through the 11th right here in Pittsburgh.
I'll have to make it work.
Maybe
we'll sit you right here in the hot seat. I was
just gonna say,
part 2, bro.
Put him right over there.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. Well, man, this has been great. Kev, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Shout out to Tre'd. Tre'd will be back on Trade Talk, by the way. So he's just taking a little mini hiatus. We're just keeping the content machine rolling. Thank you for your time today, man. Kev, anything else before we head out?
No, that's it, man. I appreciate your time, Kyle, man. It's such an honor to watch somebody I've kind of mentored along the way, like, crushing it.
Still, man.
That's what fulfills my purpose, man.
No doubt.
So, awesome.
You guys.
All right, this is Trade Talk. Make sure you guys come back next time. Peace.
Peace.